All right, well, let's deal with this PV stuff. The two violations in each of the cases is that August 22 of 24, you had contact with the Sheriff's Department and failed to report it. Do you understand that charge?
Yes, Your Honor.
And August 27th, charged with theft in Painesville Municipal Court. You understand that charge?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Cherry, what does she want to do with regard to those, her probable cause in a final hearing?
You're good with that? Your Honor, we are prepared to waive probable cause at this time and enter an admission.
All right, so is that what you want to do, Ms. Facemeyer?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, what is your plea to those allegations in each of the cases of 19, 1297, and 2065?
Guilty, Your Honor.
All right, pause right here. This is a probation violation admission, which means the defendant just waived her right to fight probable cause. Translation? The judge no longer needs to prove anything. From this moment on, the entire hearing shifts from "did she do it?" to "what is she going to lose?" And trust me, this judge is just getting warmed up.
All right, I'll accept your guilty plea and find you guilty. So we'll go to sentencing on all three cases. Go ahead, Mr. Cherry.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, Ms. Facemeyer, as you know, is a 31-year-old woman. She has recently, even though she was employed at the time of this offense, she is now employed again. She has been working there and has been entrusted with a company car and a company credit card and has a good position again that she's hoping to maintain despite the activity in this case. As the court is well aware, Ms. Facemeyer is a heroin addict. She has been sober and clean from that drug for 5 years now. She has had Suboxone treatment in the past and is currently using Suboxone to manage her symptoms and her addiction to that drug, but has not gone back to heroin. She has, to my knowledge, and is confirmed by the probation department, been provided a number of opportunities to complete a drug screen and has passed all of those drug screens. She has also gone to meetings in Alcoholics Anonymous and received some benefit from those meetings, although considering what has happened recently, I think she needs to go back and continue working again. As the court is also aware, she has presented to everybody here that she has a cancer diagnosis. That turns out not to be the case, but what is clear from her records, which have been provided to the court, is that she has an ongoing mental health issue that I would think, combined with her addictive behavior, creates a problem for her in which she needs services. What is good for her, primarily good for her, is that she has a community of people around her, the kind of community that you would want for a person with her problems, to help support her, give her good direction.
This is where defense attorneys pivot hard: jobs, sobriety, community support, letters, pastors, partners. It's not about innocence anymore. It's about salvage. But here's the question for you. When does explanation turn into excuse, and does the court actually care?
And provide her guidance when she struggles in working the 12 steps of any addiction program and to help manage her mental health symptoms. Sorry, Your Honor. Her boyfriend, Dan Cameron, is here with us today, and despite all of this that has happened before this court on the current circumstances, he still loves her, and he still believes that she is a good person with qualities that she can offer to the community that are positive. She has other members of Alcoholics Anonymous, which I won't belabor the point and have all of them read, but many of them wrote letters in support of her in connection with today's sentencing. She's also going to church and getting support from that front to help with her mental health and addiction, and Pastor Rollins is here today to tell you about his piece of this.
Your Honor, I am here today because of some very poor choices that I made. I understand their severity and I accept full responsibility for them. I am profoundly sorry for the undue stress and aggravation that my actions caused those who I victimized. My actions deprived innocent people of their property and hard-earned money. I fully understand how hard it is to earn money, and regardless of my struggles, it does not excuse my actions. I made another poor choice in stopping the medication that I was prescribed. This is in no way an excuse for my behavior, but by that point, everything was out of character for me. I was overwhelmed by my gambling addiction that had spiraled out of control. It took me down harder and faster than my addiction to drugs did in the past. In addition to losing money gambling, my hours were being cut at work, and I was struggling to meet my monthly expenses. I got myself into a very scary situation and because I was afraid to ask for help, my pride got in the way of common sense. I have begun to repair the wreckage. I have resumed regular meetings with my psychiatrist, and I am taking the medicine as prescribed. Acting on advice of my AA sponsor, I have sought help through Gamblers Anonymous online, and I continue working the AA program, which has given me opportunities I never thought were possible, and has put people in my life that actually love me and care deeply about me and my well-being. I have also sought out and participate in weekly counseling sessions so that I can address and deal with things from my past that have eaten away at me for many years. Pastor Rollins, who is here today, and I have discussed additional counseling with him, and I plan to follow through as soon as possible. I didn't have a good upbringing, and for the first time in my life, I'm loved and have the support of people who have become my real family. I've worked hard to climb out of the hole I dug for myself in the past. While I acknowledge my growth, I know that I still have a lot of work to do. One of the most important actions in my program of recovery is to make amends when I owe them, and to do so promptly. Your Honor, I have been fortunate enough to gain full-time employment again. As Eric said, I'm entrusted with a brand new company vehicle and a credit card to make purchases needed for the scope of my duties. I am also in a very stable, loving, and nurturing living situation. I am fully willing and able to make restitution to the people I am responsible for victimizing, as well as meeting my monthly expenses. While my program teaches me that the best amends is changed behavior, I owe it to those individuals to make things right financially. I would like to also extend my sincere apology to my victims, their families, and anyone close to them who were affected in any way by my actions. Your Honor, I'm asking you humbly for your grace and mercy so that I can make these amends as quickly as possible, and so that I can pay my debt to the court by allowing me the privilege of continuing on the path to become an honorable and God-fearing woman. I want to make good on the opportunity you granted me 5 years ago. I also want to apologize for violating my probation that came because you gave me a chance back then. I am committed to doing everything required and necessary to make sure I am never in this position again. I experienced some of the harshest realities that life sometimes presents, but I have tools to use to deal with them, and most importantly, a growing relationship with my Lord that was not existent when I stood before you during my darkest days. I ask that you would see fit to allow me to remain free so that I can continue my journey and grow to become the woman that I am capable.
That was a full accountability speech: gambling addiction, mental health, restitution, faith, remorse. On paper, it checks every box judges want to hear. But Courtroom reality check: sincerity isn't measured by emotion, it's measured by consistency. And this judge is about to test that.
Capable of becoming, and that Jesus wants me to be. Thank you.
Why did you go into these 2 cars?
Because with my hours being cut with work and the addiction to gambling and not wanting to ask for help, Your Honor, I got overwhelmed with the extent of my bills trying to keep up with restitution and even gambling itself.
Well, what bills?
My phone, my car. I had, even with the psychiatrist, because my Medicaid had gotten cut while I was waiting for my insurance through work to kick in. And then just with the expense of gambling itself.
What'd you do with the money?
I literally only got $20, and that I went and I put in the slot machine.
So it really had nothing to do with the bills, it had to do with the gambling.
Correct.
What'd you do with the items that were taken?
I threw them away.
When did the gambling start?
About 2 years ago. It didn't get really bad until about a year ago.
And how were you gambling?
Those little internet cafes that they have that have popped up around, I would just go in there because they have slot machines.
Now, when's the last time you tested positive for any drugs?
I never tested positive. I've been sober for the 5 years.
And how did you accomplish that?
Through AA and the support that I've gained, and through the rooms,
Okay.
like I said, of Alcoholics Anonymous and the steps and tools
All
they
right.
gave me.
Then what's with the Suboxone?
That was when my mental health got real bad and everything too, from the gambling and secluding myself. I literally wanted to kill myself or do heroin, so I had reached out to a Suboxone doctor, so that way I didn't do either, because either was going to kill me anyways. And I didn't want to
Which
die.
doctor?
Her name was Emily Shumway. I know it was a different one before that with insurance, but then they stopped taking my insurance, so I had to switch to Ms. Shumway. And then when I just got Medicaid back, I had to switch to, his name was Scott Allen.
Where are they located?
It doesn't say on there because it's through online virtual.
All right. Did you inform your probation officer that you were going to these doctors?
I informed her that I was on Suboxone and that it was through a virtual doctor, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I don't like this virtual doctor crap. I don't like it.
I understand that, but that was what insurance covered.
It's worked out really, really well. So how long had it been before you, when did you get the Suboxone?
It would have been about, I want to say over a year ago when it was getting, my addiction was getting real bad.
Okay, when you say what addiction was getting bad?
The gambling addiction.
Okay. And so you're on the computer with somebody who may or may not be a doctor, who's a pretend doctor. And how long had it been, when they prescribed, whoever it was prescribed this Suboxone, how long had it been since you took heroin?
At that time, it would have been, because I just had 5 years in December.
So why in the world is a doctor prescribing Suboxone, which is theoretically, okay, to get you from taking heroin 4 years after the fact?
I don't know, Your Honor.
Did you discuss that with this?
I did, because I had told them I literally wanted to kill myself or pick up heroin.
And so how many times did you share a screen with this doctor?
They did it once a month.
Well, how many times before you were prescribed Suboxone?
They did a screen before I was prescribed it, because I went up to LabCorp through Walgreens, and then it was once every 2 weeks, and then it went to once a month.
Now, my question is, how many times did you talk to this doctor on the computer screen before Suboxone was prescribed?
They prescribed it that first time.
Now, this is absolutely unbelievable, irresponsible, and you would think there's some goddamn medical ethics that would prevent that from occurring. You would think, okay?
And there it is. This hearing just took a hard left. The judge isn't just skeptical, he's offended. Virtual doctors, Suboxone prescriptions years after heroin use, and zero in-person accountability. This isn't a medical debate anymore. It's a credibility collapse.
Now, you're a pretty good manipulator, right? You are a Class A
Yes, I
manipulator.
can, yes.
You are,
Your Honor.
right? Okay, this whole cancer stuff was all made up, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So you can convince Mr. Cameron and all the AA people that you had cancer and collect money for it. What'd you do with all that money?
One from the fundraiser and everything, I literally donated because I couldn't use it for that because I didn't have the moral capacity to.
What?
I said, through my morals and values, when they gave me that money, I donated it to the Cancer Foundation because I couldn't use it
What
for
cancer
that.
foundation?
The American Cancer Society.
How do I know that?
You don't, but.
Right. Why would I believe that? Seems to me you probably gambled it if you got a bunch of money in your hand and you got a gambling addiction and you're telling me you donated it somewhere else?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so that gets back, I mean, you're a manipulator, and you manipulated this doctor, because you told this doctor whatever you wanted to tell this doctor, and got Suboxone, and started taking Suboxone. Now, Suboxone.
This is the moment everything detonates. Cancer lies. Fundraising. Manipulation. From a legal perspective, this is devastating, not because it's a new crime, but because it destroys the court's trust. And once a judge labels you a Class A manipulator, mercy becomes a scarce resource.
Is an addictive drug, isn't it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. When is the last time you took Suboxone?
They have me tapering off of it now, so I did take it this morning, but I'm on half a strip a day and we're weaning me off.
This is unbelievable to me. When's the last time you actually went to a doctor?
I want to say I was supposed to go on the 4th, but I didn't. Oh, it's right there too, because I just had surgery on the 21st.
Okay, when's the last time you went to a doctor for other than that condition? Not saw him on a computer screen.
The
Went to a doctor.
psychiatrist I see in person once a year, and then otherwise it's virtual because he's in Twinsburg. And then I went and
Psychiatrist?
saw, yes.
Okay. And what did that psychiatrist prescribe for you?
He gives me the Xanax and the Zoloft.
Okay. And what's that for? What's the diagnosis for that?
Severe anxiety and major depressive disorder.
How long have you been going to that doctor?
I've been seeing him now about 2.5 or 3 years.
Did that doctor know about your gambling?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
I never told him.
Why not?
Because when I'm in an active addiction, I don't ever admit it. I kind of keep it to myself like an addict anyways.
How do you
before
separate-
it becomes too big and out of control.
How do you separate your addictions? You got a heroin addiction, you got a gambling addiction. Presumably, you have kept the heroin addiction under control, and while that was under control, began a gambling addiction, if I believe what you're telling me. How were you able to control one and not the other?
It's not a matter of controlling it, Your Honor. As an addict, anything I pick up, I can become completely addicted to.
Okay?
It's a matter
And
of
then,
fully putting myself into my steps and completely, thoroughly going over my past and becoming okay with it and getting myself out of the environment that I was in prior to that.
so you did that with the heroin.
Yes, I did when I was at Jean Marie and worked my steps.
Well, but you're telling me you haven't taken any heroin since.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so you weren't at Jean Marie for 4 years,
No,
were you?
I was there for 9 months, Your Honor.
So for 4 years, you managed to keep that at bay until you started taking the Suboxone. Imagine prescribing an addictive drug to an addict. So 3 years after you last took heroin or thereabouts, you tell me you developed this gambling addiction, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So what did you do to address that?
It's what I'm doing now.
What did you do then to address it?
I didn't do anything, Your Honor, because I was so hurt from my mom and everything, and that's kind of what I just used to fill that void, because I didn't want to pick up heroin, as I had turned to gambling. Because like I said, as an addict, we do anything to try to fill that void. I just didn't want to pick up heroin at the time because I didn't want to die, so I found something else to latch myself onto.
Did you go to that psychiatrist as a result of the order back in 22 to have a mental health evaluation?
No, Your Honor, that doctor I went to on my own.
So now I'm sitting here, and what am I supposed to do with you? What is there left to do with you that hasn't been done?
Your Honor, I'm taking the steps and actually addressing my past, and that's why I started the weekly counseling sessions with a therapist.
On the computer?
It is on the computer, but most of them are online now, and it's the same as if you sit
Why
in
are
front
all
of them
these
in an
places?
office.
Does anybody know why all these places are so lazy?
It's COVID.
It's COVID, this is 2025.
I understand that, Your Honor.
You know, Mr. Cherry, why they're so lazy?
I can speak to my experience primarily as a family law attorney, that even now, a lot of psychologists and psychiatrist sessions are still done remotely. When you do like reunification counseling, you might do that in person, but even then, there's oftentimes a remote piece.
Isn't that, as a family law
Yeah.
counselor, practitioner, isn't that the dumbest thing you've ever heard of?
I don't think it is as effective. You know, even
Yeah,
for my piece, I say Zoom pre-trials are fine, but if I have to do a trial on Zoom, it's not good.
Is everybody, why are we all here? Why aren't I sitting in Florida doing this hearing and you sitting in California doing it?
It'd be fine with me, Your Honor.
I mean, I don't understand why, but I guess that's beside the point, okay? But this doesn't work.
It does, Your Honor. There was stuff I didn't
If
address,
it-
and the environment
if it
that...
worked, you wouldn't be here, okay?
I might suggest, Your Honor, that sometimes repeated efforts are necessary with addicts, and furthermore, I'm
understand
not
that.
sure a dual diagnosis treatment regime has been tried yet.
Well,
It has. Okay.
I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a drug counselor. Unfortunately, I have to rely on psychologists, psychiatrists, and drug counselors, many of whom are in it for the graft, quite frankly. Many of these organizations exist to perpetuate themselves, to take more money, to perpetuate themselves. That's the way it is. So, when I refer somebody for a mental health evaluation, maybe it's misguided, but it's my expectation that they, as a professional, would evaluate that person and say, there's mental health issues, there's drug issues, maybe it should be a dual diagnosis. That's what they're supposed to do. 75% of the time, they don't do it because they just don't care. Okay? But that's where you have to take responsibility for your situation.
I understand,
Okay.
Your Honor, and that's what I'm trying to do at the moment.
Okay, but you were here, when were you here, a month ago?
Yes, Your Honor,
And why did we delay that hearing until now?
because we had to get all the medical records and everything
Because-
else.
because of
I
your cancer
was
stuff.
irresponsible, yes, Your Honor.
Right. So as recently as a month ago, you weren't owning up to anything,
Yes,
Right?
Your Honor.
okay?
And I've taken responsibility for it, and that's why I'm
I
trying
don't-
to
see, I-
take the steps to change it.
Well-
And that's the only way I know how, and that's why I reached out to the counselor.
Okay,
I
but,
started the Gambling Anonymous meetings and have restarted my steps on that, and I'm trying to dig into my past of where I missed so that I can take the steps to
we're 8
become-
years in, you and I, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay? So to take steps in the last month is insufficient.
Your Honor, I've taken steps the entire time, and that's how I even got the 5 years of sobriety.
Okay, but why
And
were you
everything.
lying to me as recently as a month ago about the cancer stuff?
Because I was still trying to manipulate the situation, and I realized that's not going to help, and that's when I've admitted it finally and tried to seek help, and I've gotten baby steps on the way to get that help. And I've even blocked even talking to my mother because she's very abusive in what she says to me, and every time at night when she's drinking, she sends me those messages, and that's why I said even in counseling, I'm trying to get to the root of that, of why I even needed to fill that void again with something else. As I can tell you in prison, it's not what's gonna help me, because in there, none of them wanna
Listen,
get better.
I don't pretend that prison's gonna
No,
help
I
you.
understand that, and I'm just saying, I'm trying to take steps, and I wanna be able to make amends to those people, because that's what I know to do today. And that's what I'm trying to do. and I'm trying to become the best woman that I can.
Okay, but manipulating the people closest to you is not the way to accomplish that.
I understand, Your Honor.
You understand, but you have to do more than understand. You have to take action.
And that's what I'm doing, Your Honor.
That's what you're telling me you're doing as you sit here today. All right, but you weren't doing that a month ago when you were here.
Correct, Your Honor. And that's all I can tell you is what I am doing today to right that situation. Because the past is already the past. I can't go back and change that. I can only change what's going to happen tomorrow if it comes.
I don't expect you to change the past, okay? Mr. Cherry?
Your Honor, gabapentin is prescribed by my client's primary care provider at UH, not as been indicated by the prosecution. My client her understanding is that Narcan is a backdrop for any potential problem that would happen with Suboxone. That's not something that was given to her because of a relapse. Again, I'm going to underscore for the court that there has not been a positive drug screen for heroin. And the final thing I'll say is that deception is natural to an addict. This might be a profound case of that, but it just goes to show that she has work still to accomplish. And I believe that
But by that theory, there's no failure on probation, right?
No,
no failure that should trigger a more severe response than probation, right?
I believe that probation is the best place for her to get the help that she needs. She needs somebody looking over her shoulder, Your Honor.
Okay.
Certainly.
I don't exist forever. My life is finite. My term is finite, okay? At some point, all anybody can provide for her is the opportunity to take advantage of what's out there. It's not up to you to implement that. It's up to her to implement that. If she doesn't want to implement it, then she's not going to implement it, regardless of what anybody says.
No, I think she does. I think that the relapse behavior, because I would consider this kind of a relapse, even if it isn't a relapse on heroin, is a part of recovery for a lot of people. And they have to fall back on their face again in order to say, okay, wait a minute, I have to go back and take the lessons that I've learned, maybe learn some new ones, and continue to work. And I think that's where Ms. Facefire is.
That may very well be where she is. That may very well be where the 50 people I have on probation right now test positive and relapse, okay? But the way you describe it, and I know you only represent Ms. Facemire, you don't represent all criminal defendants everywhere, but by the way you describe it, the only sanction, to use the nice terms of the legislature, is to continue on probation to provide another opportunity, right?
Yeah, I think that is way better to address addiction than jail time. I don't think jail time works.
Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. You know, sometimes it works. When I've sent people to prison before and then shocked them out, and then they've come through with flying colors. The reason is because they took advantage of what was out there and made the determination they were going to do that. Okay? Because I can't listen to somebody tell me who sits in that chair that relapse is just another bump on the road to recovery. Because sometimes it isn't.
That's true.
Sometimes the relapse puts them 6 feet under, okay? And there's no recovery.
That's true.
So the reliance on that, and I'm not making light of it, okay, but the reliance on that prospect doesn't really sit well, because if the person is not taking advantage and not putting the effort in, then it doesn't mean anything.
I think she has put effort in, Your Honor. I think if she had not, she might be 6 feet under. She might have tested positive for heroin with Ms. Newman. Certainly one of those things would have happened. She just hasn't done everything yet. And she has a big hole to dig out of because of her history.
Right. The history is the history, right? I mean, she's the one that said that what she's done in the past, she can't do anything about, meaning her criminal activity, okay? That's history, right? And her history is her history. So how does she get to the point where she can live with that history and move forward in a productive way? Isn't that the key?
I would agree with that, and I would add that it's not just her criminal history. I think criminal history
That's
is
what I'm
in
talking
part
about.
based on her family history.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay? She's got to understand it, figure out how to deal with it with the appropriate tools, and move forward productively.
I agree.
Okay? But that takes effort.
It does.
Okay? A lot of effort on her part went into manipulating Mr. Cameron, among others, that she had cancer. Okay? A lot of effort went into that to make sure that was covered up until the last few days, right?
It is hard to describe, and I don't know anything about Your Honor or anybody else in this courtroom, I'm going to assume a person who has not personally struggled with any of this. It's hard to describe to a person how an addiction hijacks your logic circuits, for lack of a better term, and focuses them on continuing to hide so that you can continue to live that life.
Okay.
Until you finally figure out how to come
Right.
forward and be true to yourself.
Right. Part of figuring it out is putting the effort in to figure it out.
Yes.
And as you well know, some people do it. Some people do it quicker than others.
Yeah.
But they do it. They don't do it because they went to an AA meeting and stared at a wall and it worked by osmosis, right? They put some effort into it and actually implemented in their lives what they heard, what they saw, what they learned. And it translated to them, and they continue to do it every day. Because if they didn't continue to do it every day, then they'd be sitting there, right?
Might I suggest, though, that
Go ahead.
when I was there in the rooms, and I watched many people come in with meeting slips, as I'm sure you are well familiar, having them signed by the secretary. And they would sit in the back,
Right.
and they wouldn't pay attention, and they wouldn't participate. And they were gone, right? After 6 months or whatever period of time that they would do their thing, and you wouldn't see them again. There was a nice chunk of them. I'm not even going to say 20, 30%. They would come back after a period of time, sometimes on meeting slips and sometimes on their own. Because even though they're getting it by osmosis, as you said, they're getting something, a little seed planted. So then they recognize they have another problem, they come back. That is also part of the road to recovery. For some people, it is harder than for others.
I acknowledge that. I've seen that.
Yeah, I bet.
I've seen it over and over, okay? I've seen people succeed that I never thought
Right.
would. I've seen people that just didn't want to and ended up on the other side of things,
Yeah.
okay? But it takes that effort. But the question becomes, okay, so as a society, how long are we supposed to sit back and allow crimes to recur while we wait for this person to do what this person needs to do to not commit recurring crimes? Isn't that kind of the question for the system?
Can I ask a related question? Do you believe that were Crystal Facemeyer to go to prison for 6 months or a year or however long you decide, that she would come out and not still have the same problems that she does sitting here today?
No.
Maybe even worse.
Of course not.
So are we protecting society?
I
Maybe
don't know.
delaying it.
I suppose we're protecting society for a period of time, right?
Potentially. But we're not really
I
solving
mean,
the problem.
there's no, it's not potential, it's 100% for certain, okay? Because if I sent her to prison for a year, then she wouldn't be out stealing crap out of people's cars for a year, right?
But if
I
she
mean-
comes out and she's got the same problem, then we might be back here. But our only chance to make that go away forever is to address the problem.
Right. I can't address the problem.
I understand.
I don't address problems, okay? People not you, but people mistakenly believe that I have actually some control over what criminal defendants do, and I have zero control. My only control is to house them if I choose to house them, right? That's all the control I have.
Or provide them services.
Well, we do that every day. I mean, we do that every day, all day. Probation, that's their job for 40 hours a week, is to facilitate services. Unfortunately, the system is set up in such a way that some of these service providers are frauds, but I mean, that's kind of human nature sometimes. A certain number of people are going to be thieves throughout their lives and take advantage of every situation. Okay, and this is no different. Anything else?
Nothing else, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. I have reviewed the pre-sentence report, the psychological evaluation, and I have considered the what the pastor has said, what Mr. Cameron has said. I considered what Ms. Facemeyer has said, what counsel has said, reviewed the victim impact statements. And I have considered the entirety of 29-29-11, 29-29-12, and 29-29-13. And as you said, Mr. Cherry, and we're here on the F5 theft and the F5 identity fraud. This the initial term of community control on the 19 and 20 cases was by every definition that I could find a failure multiple times, which is why I sent her to prison. Now, I sent her to prison for a total of 54 months. You weren't here for that, I don't believe. But I sent her there knowing that I was going to let her out and put her on probation with the hope that the shock of spending several months in prison would provide some sort of jolt such that when she came out, that she would do what she needs to do to prevent coming back here again. But that didn't work either. Now, see, Ms. Facemeyer, you can tell me anything you want to tell me, and you've put me in a position where I can't believe anything you've told me.
I understand that, Your Honor.
That's just a fact, right? Because I'd be a fool
No, I know, but can
if I believe
honestly,
what you said.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Please. When you did send me to prison, though, that was the best thing you ever did. Because if you would have let me out, then I would have done heroin and died. And by sending me to Jean Marie and being able to take that opportunity that you gave me, I've been able to get 5 solid years without using heroin or touching it. And I am sincerely sorry about lying and this gambling problem and everything else. And that's why I'm trying to take the steps to do the right thing and do what Alcoholics Anonymous has taught me right now and admit the problem and address it and try to make amends the best way that I can. And by a prison term, I can't make amends to those people. It's already hard enough with my record to even find a job that actually pays me enough to make those amends. And right now at this moment, with the treatment that I have sought on my own before even coming here, and the job that I have, I'm able to fully meet my expenses and pay those people back. And actually work on myself at the same time for those family things that have happened in the past to actually leave them in the past and not let them affect me as bad as they do today.
I'm going to schedule another hearing that will take place April 16th at 1 o'clock, at which time I'm going to implement a sentence of 180 days in jail. You better satisfy me with your progress in the next 3 months, or you'll go sit over here from April until October.
Understood, Your Honor.
You're going to continue with McNair, follow the recommendations, continue with Luttrell and follow the recommendations, no drugs or alcohol. Screens.
Oh, Your Honor, real quick, too, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Dr. Monterelli's my primary, who I do
Right.
get the gabapentin monthly through, so I don't know if you want to list him as well on there.
I believe it's in the records, Your Honor.
I know.
Okay.
What's the gabapentin for?
That's been for my tremors. My mom has them too. It's genetic. It's why I shake so bad too.
He's your primary?
Correct, Your Honor.
I'm not including your primary or a Hooja.
Okay.
I'm just, you can go to those people. 4 AAs a week. Maintain your sponsor. Sign releases for probation. Full employment. No contact with Archer or Snow. Restitution to Archer, $200. Restitution to Snow, $723.16. I don't think I've ever left a sentencing being more unnerved or uncertain.
That ending is chilling. No immediate jail, but the suspended hammer. 180 days hanging over her head, and 3 months to prove real change. So here's the real question. Is this accountability, or just a delayed consequence?
About imposing a sentence before. So take that for what it's worth.
Thank you, Your Honor.